Welcome to the Sydney Cricket Ground, or welcome back if you've been with us for our pre-game show. Sydney Swans and North Melbourne, 8th versus 9th on the AFL ladder. And it's simple. 8th spot on the ladder goes to the winner today with 7 rounds to go. Let's have a look at the lineups, guys. North Melbourne first up.
North Melbourne very confident going into this game. They've got their full structure back. Robbie Tarrant playing his first game there at centre back. Drew Petrie, their vice-captain. McIntosh has been in really good form. Lockie Hansen kicking 9 goals, 2 the last 2 weeks. And of course, in midfield, Harvey and Wells, they're the 2 guys they really need to play well. Harvey's only averaged 20 disposals the last 5 games against Sydney.
Sydney Swans about to burst through the banner. Lost 6 of their past 8 matches. But they've attempted to bring the fun back at training this week. Less meetings and more enjoyment of training as they burst through the banner. Let's have a look how they line up, given that Paul Roos has already admitted Adam Goods will play a lot in the middle.
That is the big move. Their superstar at the Sydney Swans, Adam Goods, will move from up forward and go into the middle of the ground. Can kick goals from there and will need to. Thompson will have his hands full with the big forwards for the North Melbourne side. Malcheski, Knelly, Grundy, Shaw and Smith have got to offer a lot of run off half back. And then the likes of O'Keefe, who's been in great touch, need to kick goals. But the Swans have to stop this man. Second game for the season. Drew Petrie back from that foot injury that has really cruelled his season so far, but he is a powerful player when in form. Have a look at what has to happen to the key points today. For the Kangaroos, they've got to hold their tackles. We saw last week against Geelong. They just slipped too many tackles and just the Geelong team just ran through the middle of the ground with no pressure in the end.
And shut down Harvey and Wells. They're the 2 keys. Paul Roos had a great success. Harvey's only averaged 20 disposals against Sydney the last 5 times, and Wells only 17. And of course, 4 quarters of football. Last week they were 33 points up with 35 minutes to play against last week's bottom side in Richmond. And they really need to play 4 quarters here today. And have a look at the centre of the ground. The umpire's practising the bouncing the ball there, Dwayne.
You think they might throw it up a little bit today?
Well, they said if it rains, they'll have to throw it up. There's no doubt.
Bounce of the ball straight after this break. McIntosh and Mumford. So the first bounce works. There's the big piece of mud on the ball after that bounce. And the free kick being found. It'll go to Kirk early.
And Cruz Gartlett has the matchup on Adam Goods at the start of this game.
And they've got to mark a muddy ball. Trent Dennis-Lane knocked down. Goods inside 50, McLean.
Well, that's a great start for the Swans. A great start for Adam Goods as well. And a number of players have got over to him because they know he is a key player to this team. If they expect to play in finals and certainly contend, they need the ball in that man's hand.
And that's one area the game's been letting him down, Lynchy's kicking efficiency. So he'd be wrapped with that start, Adam Goods.
Ben McGlynn. 13 goals, 8 this year. And had a huge impact early in this season and having a big impact early in this game.
Started the season really well, Dwayne, and then he had that thigh injury. Super important they get a good spread of goal kickers with Adam Goods starting in the middle. So Paul Roos has pulled the right rein here nice and early, putting the dual Brownlow medalist in the middle of the ground. Ben McGlynn there, super important they get a good spread of goal kickers. Ted Richards started for him also for the Sydney Swans. He's a very good player, Ben McGlynn. Works hard, and more importantly, kick true.
Petrie in the goal square. Lewis Roberts-Thompson on him.
There's the tall forward line there, Dwayne. You've got Hansen, Goldstein, of course, Drew Petrie, the vice-captain down there. So going tall, Brad Scott.
It's not a big defence for the Sydney Swans, so obviously Brad Scott just trying to stretch as Paul Roos his resources down back.
Mumford down, but to Patch Adams, hands it off. Thompson, caught, had a long time. O'Keefe gets it out. Malcheski, McVeigh, and 360 spun, holding the ball.
Stay out, stay out.
Yeah, just took on 1 or 2 too many tacklers and was caught in the end.
It's a fairly tall full forward line for the Kangaroos, but a short centre-half forward. At this ground, Brent Harvey playing centre-half forward at the moment. He now leads up for this one and takes the mark. Not such a bad option on a small ground to do that. Hands it wide to Ferrito. Kick half smothered. Rolls inside 50. Smith. Shaw. Short. Moore. Plays on with players around him. McGlynn.
Great kick.
He can take off here. Trent Dennis Lane just inside 50's got it.
Another great kick on the left foot from McGlynn in front of Dennis Lane. That is a very nice kick. Nice lead to find space. Just had a little bit too much pace for Pratt on that occasion.
Second game for Trent Dennis Lane. 8 possession debut last week in the loss to Richmond. But he's a mature age recruit. 57 goals in the waffle last year, including 4 in the grand final. He knows where the big sticks are normally. That's across the face. Did kick a goal on debut. That was a horror kick to start his day today. Tie up in the pocket, ball up for TDL with LRT as well. They've got a couple of hyphens going at the moment, the Swans, which might tell you something about Sydney perhaps.
Play on.
Smothered. McIntosh caught. Adams. Handball knocked away. Almost too high. O'Keefe did well.
Good courage,
And McGlynn,
O'Keefe.
just a little fumble across the line.
He's Adam Goods there. His direct opponent, you're talking about Cruz Gauntlet. He's only the 174 centimetres to Adam Goods 193. So Brad's got to be worried about that matchup, especially if Adam Goods pushes forward,
which is no doubt he'll try to do.
Mumford, little knockdown. Garlett beaten for it by McVeigh. Slipped it through to Kirk. Threw that to Goods. Kick smothered by Adams. Mumford. McVeigh. Work it back outside 50. O'Keefe. Kick smothered by Wells. Swallow. Bumped on the kick. Good bump. Legal bump. Wells. Open forward line.
Robbie.
Lindsay Thomas.
Been quiet the last couple of weeks, Lindsay Thomas.
He's almost played his way out of form as he kicks to Petrie with that 7-goal performance against Carlton. Harvey held inside 50 by Jack. And Brent Harvey will take the free.
It was good, well picked up, Dwayne, and more importantly, the umpire.
I think actually Brent Harvey engaged contact to start with, just trying to hold Kieran Jack off. But once you hold the jumper, we'll just see here, there's holding from Brent Harvey, actually, it appeared.
The initial hold, I think, was
It was the
Kieran Jack,
initial
but-
one.
Well, Kieran Jack saying he had hold of my jumper, but it was obscured by my grab on him. But you need a bit of luck in this game.
Yep, good
That's
start at a quiet
experience.
game last week. Brent Harvey looking to bounce back.
He just 22 possessions against Geelong, which sounds like a lot, but it wasn't by his standards, and that's normally not his standard either.
Well, he's struggled against Paul Roos's coaching, Wayne. Only with 20 disposals he's average, so Kieran Jack or Brett Kirk normally get Brent Harvey, so Paul Roos is well aware of the impact that he can have if you let him run free.
Started well for Kirk. He'll get a stitch early. I think he likes to start games like that. Shaw, back pocket. Little chip kick, beaten for it, Bolton.
Wells
And the
is
reach,
free.
Goldstein.
Just didn't seem the big ruckman.
Goes to the pocket, Lindsay Thomas. Mentioned he played his way out of form. Kicked 7 goals against Carlton. Had an unbelievably good night, and then just 1 goal and 1 goal in his past 2 games.
I think the goal he kicked last week was a magnificent crumbing goal. We see Lindsay Thomas at times try to take the big mark. Just don't think it's really his role. Although Brad Scott during the week said he doesn't mind his exciting players to express themselves on the field. He's certainly one of the most exciting players in the comp when up and going.
27 goals, 22 this year. And he slots it. North Melbourne in front.
We've got the tall forwards for North, and obviously Sydney going to the focus with the 3 tall forwards in Lockie, Hanson, Petrie and Goldstein. And so super important, Harvey and now Thomas have had an impact also. So the running halfbacks of Sydney, they love running off their direct opponents, Lynchy, but they do have to defend on these guys, especially when you've got Wells, Harvey and Thomas pushing forward. So a good start there for the 2 crumbing half forwards for North.
And almost unstoppable when he's hot, Lindsay Thomas. We mentioned the 7-goal 5 game against Carlton, but had another big game against Fremantle this year, kicking 5 goals 5. So essentially the majority of his 28 goals for the season have come in 2 hot games. From the ball up, Goods. Jude Bolton tries to get it out, doesn't really attempt to knock it out. Tied up by Ed Lower, and he'll get up and get the mud off him. Jude Bolton, now 5th greatest Swan of all time, behind Michael O'Loughlin, John Rantel, Adam Goods and Mark Browning. He's been a fantastic servant, Jude Bolton. This game 248. Free kick, McIntosh out of the middle.
Yeah, just wrap the arms around big McIntosh, so good body strength on that occasion to hold the front position.
Good to go, straight down the middle. Goods can't take the mark. Off hands Grundy and then barreled his own man.
But it's good tackling there.
It is. I don't think Nick Malcheski was too keen to get that ball. There was about 6 players running straight at him, and as soon as he took possession, got hammered.
Well, I did miss a lot of missed tackles last week, North, so Brett's got to be wrapped with that gang tackle.
Mumford, Goldstein, McIntosh, they all went for that, the three of them. Almost too high, but play on, duck your head was the call. And the umpires today, Matt Stevick, Matthew Nichols and Sean Ryan. This is Sean Ryan about to ball it up. They might have their work cut out. Good spot to bounce it here, but there's a glue pot in the middle. Little flick McIntosh down to Goods. Loops a handball in the Jude Bolton direction, who drags Harvey down inconspicuously. O'Keefe, wide, Richards. North Melbourne flooding players back.
I suppose you figured Ted Richards would be a key factor across half forward for the Swans today, with Goods pushing up the field.
Big round of applause as well when he gathered that. He's back into the team this week, and one of the local favourites, Ted Richards, didn't play in the loss to Richmond. O'Keefe, centering ball. Jude Bolton slips it to Jack, gets away from Harvey.
Good running, Tom.
Splendid kick to Lewis Roberts-Thompson, who gets a chance to kick a rare one.
Very good running there. Drew Petrie's direct opponent, so pushing forward to space. It's okay to push forward, but you've got to get dangerous, and more importantly, be in a spot where your teammate can see. So Kieran Jack had a look up the ground, and that was great running, great vision.
And most important, as you know, he's got to kick this. As a full-back, you love to sneak up the field. Done this plenty of times, didn't you, Spud?
not quite.
Hasn't kicked one all year. Lewis Roberts-Thompson bends that back and still hasn't kicked one for the year.
Drew Petrie will just have a little bit of sweat on the brow. That's just been eased by the pressure released from the post there, so that was a lucky escape.
Short pass in. Bastanak having a good season. Has been nominated for the NAB Rising Star and is about 10-1 to win it. And there's the first game of Robbie Tarrant with his first touch. And he helps Bastanak get another touch in this string. Hansen back to Tarrant, and still haven't got the pace of the game yet.
We'll learn from that, Robbie Tarrant. Probably not a lot of talk from his teammates either.
It was well done from McGlynn, actually. 50-metre penalty.
50 metres will take him probably to the top of the goal square.
I think it's against Ben Cunnington, the youngster from North Melbourne. I think he was too far away from McVeigh. Too close to the man in the mark, or the kicker, sorry.
50s are about 45 here at the SCG, and he'll line up from a good 30 out. It's not in the book yet. But he's already had a sider. He's already got one. Strikes it okay, and it doesn't bend back enough. Only behind, they lead by that.
He's just pulled that one to the left. And we just see here that a good tackle from McGuinn just didn't drive Tarrant into the ground by pushing him in the back, so turned in the tackle, and the 50-metre penalty just ran straight through the mark, young Cunnington there, so bad luck, but you need to have an awareness of where the mark is, that's for sure.
It's okay to run through the mark as long as you're only 2 metres away from your direct opponent. He was trying to man him up, but the leg rope was 10 metres, so he had to run around the mark there.
Torrico has been a delay. Finally, Rawlings, back pocket, coming off a 36 possession game against Geelong last week as Pike flies, can't mark it. Kennelly. Trent Dennis-Lane taken out. We'll get a ball in.
Lee Colbert looks very slippery underfoot down there today.
A little bit soft, Spud, as you mentioned, and Adam Goods is actually one player that's already changed his boots in this first quarter.
Which is strange. You'd think that they did a warm-up out there, and he should know this ground fairly well. Kennedy caught by Bastanak, not going anywhere, and we'll get another ball up.
Maybe he forgot. Maybe he's warmed up in the Mouldeds.
Right.
Thought I'll change him, then forgot.
Well, one thing that shouldn't happen,
Because surely
a defender shouldn't have Mouldeds on in these conditions.
Greenwood can't break free of McVeigh, and wasn't holding the ball either because he didn't have prior opportunity. We had a discussion about prior opportunity with our three men in yellow today. Matt Stevick, Matthew Nichols, Sean Ryan pre-game. And
Did they clear it up for you, Dwayne?
yes, they gave us at least the guidelines that they have to umpire by, which are fairly difficult for them, we must admit. We talked about prior opportunity, whether if you bumped, that's your prior opportunity. If you are tackled once and then twice and then three times, whether the three tackles that have hit you are prior opportunity when you get tackled a fourth time. But you must have an opportunity to actually get rid of the ball, even if you've had it for 3 or 4 seconds. Kennedy, caught, gang tackle.
Holding the ball, you just let it go to him.
Okay, so no prior opportunity there, but he just let it go.
Just handed it over to his teammate, which you can't do.
Swallow to Harvey, down the middle to Lower, who can run through the glue. Petrie on the move, cut off. Brilliant mark, Grundy. Stood in the hole, knew he could have been caved in.
It was well read too, because Lockie Henson led up the ground, but Grundy knew that the ball was going to the vice-captain in Drew Petrie, so good courage there from Grundy.
Malcheski, a little floater, Richards wide. Another huge round of applause for Ted Richards.
Good running from Lewis Roberts-Thompson again.
Gets the quarter play on and stripped of it by Harvey. Brilliant there. Rawlings caught, just got it away in time. Forced to mop up that little mess. Players dive in. Umpire letting it go for a while. Rawlings pleading that he didn't have it anymore, just in case the umpire was thinking of giving a free against him, and we'll get a ball up.
Don't hold, don't
We
block.
talk tackles pre-game, Alistair. North are going well at the moment. Tackles, they've had 10 already in this game.
Yeah, much better start from the tackling point of view than last week against Geelong.
Adams, Rawlings, Campbell. Wobbling kick. Once again, it's hard to kick out of that centre area. Petrie tries to be slick with the hands. First game back since round 10 for him. Second game of the season. Might need some time to pick up the pace. Moore gave it straight to Thompson. Right, back to Thompson. He gets a rare chance at goal. Floats it across the face. And only a behind, and he still yet to kick himself a goal on AFL footy, Scott Thompson.
Rawlings just a heavy hit. Just as he disposed of the ball, he's up and about now.
Nice pluck by McIntosh. Harvey tries to sell some candy to Kieran Jack. Right, half forward, held up by Meredith. Back to Harvey, getting plenty of it. That'll count as a kick. Might not be effective. Lindsay Thomas tried to make it so, and Mike Pike, brilliant. He's getting better each game. In
He
fact,
is.
He's asked for a new contract for next year, and the way he's playing, he might get it. Moore, wide, Grundy. No Matner in this game, and Grundy will be their run from defence. Richards thumped away, no free. Robbie Tarrant again, got a handball out. Pratt, that handball untidy. Richards strips it, gives it to Meredith.
Good give.
Now McGlynn should kick the goal, hands it over the top, and Jack kicks one on Harvey.
We've spoken before about fullbacks getting up the ground and making the most of their opportunities. Likewise, if you're playing on an extremely dangerous player like Brent Harvey and you're doing a tagging role, it's always good to get forward of the ball and kick a goal when you get the opportunity. But some good work in tight situations for the Sydney Swans over the last few minutes. Their pressure around the ball's been very good. Quick hands. Once again, Ted Richards was very good with the hands there, as he was a few minutes beforehand or a few seconds beforehand, in a very courageous attempt to mark.
And tagger is now a fairly flattering label to have. Brett Kirk's made it trendy.
Free kick off the ball against, I think he's not sure who it is down there, but Daniel Wells will get the kick.
So Wells at centre half forward. So it was being held according to the umpires. Is he within range? Bevan was the man who infringed. He floats it up long. It's very long, but and long enough for Goldstein, who had the long reach.
That's a great mark from Todd Goldstein. Now, we've seen Goldstein over recent weeks. He's just looks like he's about to grab the game by the scruff of the throat. He's a monstrous man, very good in the ruck situation, but can push forward. Almost took a couple of clunkers last week against the Cats, but beautiful mark.
And finishes it off. It's North Melbourne second. Let's head down to Lee Colby. Colby, Jack came off with Harvey coming off, did he?
Yeah, he did. He's going to run with him all day. So been a great player, Kieran Jack. Not only now does he tag, but he actually gets the ball going the other way. And we've seen already in this game a beautiful left foot pass to Lewis Roberts-Thompson.
It was a great goal from Todd Goldstein. We watched his game last week, and I think it's a great move starting him forward. He's got good lateral movement. More importantly, dropped a couple of those marks last week.
Ashley said this week, Todd Goldstein, his 22 possession game against Geelong in that loss last week was his best game that he'd ever played.
Really, I mean, he was good. He could have been a lot better with a couple of marks, but he looks like he's going to be a very good player for a long time for the Kangas.
Kennedy out of the middle, straight to Moore. His kick smothered, back to him. Thought about giving a short, gives it long. Malcheski off the side of the boot and out of play on the full. The strange part about Goldstein saying that is he had a 5-goal game against Melbourne last year, a breakout game for him where he dominated, got Brownlow votes and was virtually best on ground, and yet the game last week and the loss he said was better because he grew as a player.
Well, that tells us, Dwayne, he sees himself as a ruckman,
yep, that's
not
true.
a forward.
Tarrant toward McIntosh, stolen by Goods to Kirk. And Malcheski again, inboard. Trent Dennis Lane, handball slips off the mud to Smith.
Good vision.
Short, Malcheski can go.
Great
and
smother.
Brilliant smother from Scott Thompson. Malcheski back in, tied up. He dived on it, so he's in trouble.
He's in trouble. North have really come to play. They've tried to play on a couple of times, Sydney, and had the ball smothered, so they're in the game, North, their intensity.
Is it Thomas? Manhandled at half forward. Toes it inside 50. Kennelly, Hanbury, Grundy, LRT. Heads wide. Jude Bolt.
End up with Nick Malcheski if they can get the ball going. Oh, he had plenty of space, but a little bit slow.
O'Keefe, nice pass though. It's away from Greenwood. 29 possession game himself last week against Richmond. Also back into some form after being concussed early this season, and it knocked him around a bit in more ways than one. Garland.
Good tackle, good.
Stripped of it. Richards inboard. Mumford gives it up. McLean. He dropped that as he was tackled. No holding the ball free. Back to Richards. And he misses the shot, Ted Richards.
He's getting his hands on the ball. He had 5 disposals already in the first term. His first score with the one behind, but he's been very lively across half forward.
From the kick in. Pratt manhandling Trent Dennis Lane. Takes it across the boundary and will get a ball in.
Good start from Adam Goods, though. Paul Roos giving him the opportunity to play in the middle of the ground. He's had the 4 disposals. Very good tackle length.
And Spud, it was actually refreshing to hear Paul Roos just tell us where Adam Goods was going to line up. He's going to start in the centre of the ground for the first bounce, and 20 minutes before the game was good to hear.
He'll be criticised for that. He was criticised for telling his players off for conceding a 5-goal lead to the bottom team in the competition last week. He got angry about that, losing to the bottom team after being 5 goals up.
That's
So as
extraordinary.
a coach, you're not allowed to get angry, Brian.
I think he was criticised last year for taking it too easily and being jolly on the bench, so you can't win either way, Paul Roos. But
The Gen Y don't like the bait now, do they?
I don't think they do, young players. Well, just 7 games to go for Paul Roos after this if they don't make the finals, Sydney. I think he wants to go out in style, though. Kirk inboard and Bevan under it. Stood his ground, took the mark, come up from the back pocket to take that one.
They are running forward very well, the Sydney Swans defenders. They're using the ball fairly well, but they're all pushing into those dangerous spots.
You see Jude Bolton there win that clearance. He's averaging 30 disposals, Jude Bolton, the last 4 weeks. So, super clearance player.
Big kick this for Paul Bevan. Back into the team this week and drills it.
We'll go for free kick away to Daniel Wells just a few minutes ago at the other end of the ground on holding decision. But as with Lewis Roberts-Thompson and Shaw and Matner, they're running very hard to find space, and there's a number of players around every congestion, as we see with this situation here. And great kick from Brett Kirk. Probably wasn't exactly knowing who he was going to go to, but the point was, kick the ball to a dangerous position on the ground, which leave your opposition vulnerable. On that occasion, good mark from Bevan and goal.
So the defender kicks one on Daniel Wells.
That was such a good kick because it was 20-25 metres out from goal rather to the goal line, where it's very easy for defenders just to scrub it over the line. They get possession, only concede the 1 point, but 20 metres out, very dangerous spot.
Secondary ball up. We'll see the umpire bounces it here or tosses it in the air.
None of the boundary throwing. It definitely advantaged the Swans. It didn't go
Poor
central.
throw.
Yeah.
And a good bounce too. Mumford straight down. O'Keefe besieged. And we'll get another ball up. Some pressure on a few of the ins for the Sydney Swans. Brett Meredith into the team this week. Ted Richards, Paul Bevan also in, the 3 changes, but Trent Dennis-Lane as well. Young of games is game number 2, given that Lewis Jetta sparkled in the reserves about an hour ago. He was sensational, best on ground. And Jesse White kicked 8 goals in that game. Rawlings dragged down by Malcheski. Umpire allows play to flow on a little. And Jude Bolton put his head down, gave to Malcheski, heads it long. Mumford turns back, runs in, and that's a super goal from the big man.
That's great agility there from Big Money. He's been fantastic in the ruck. But have a look at the forward options. Adam Good staying in the middle of the ground. You think, who's going to kick their goals? Again, Jude Bolton. Tough as they come. But have a look at the recovery here from Shane Mumford. Just turns Robbie Tarrant around. He learned from that Robbie Tarrant. Had to keep himself in between the goals and Shane Mumford. But that's a great agility to pick up and then kick a super goal on the angle. Great goal. First game of Robbie Tarrant. Great goal from Shane Mumford, but he'll learn from that, Alistair. Just had to keep himself between Mumford and the goals. He just allowed him to turn him a little bit easy there.
And conceding that kind of goal can shake up a young player. Mike Pike into the ruck, does some tackling. Goldstein gets his own clearance. Grundy read it well. Gets away from Hanson and he's beating him early. Richards having a good game, although he spills that. Thompson, inboard. Pratt takes on Richards. Hanson, right. Got one-on-ones ahead. Floats it long. Petrie, Lewis Roberts, Thompson, Warren. Hacks it forward. Kennelly can tack this through if he wants to. He was under enough pressure to get away with that.
A quick transition here.
Inside 50s are identical. Actually, North are 1 more 11, Sydney 10. But the issue for North Melbourne at the moment, Alistair, that Sydney have scored 7 times for 10 entries.
Meredith, Kennelly, Shaw.
That's a bit of a worry early. 70%, so you're scoring every time you're going in.
Big concern.
Smith forced to backtrack, but he sets it up nicely. Mike Pike, he's doing well.
And Goods is forward of his opponent, may get the opportunity.
Shaw made that tough. Hanbury.
Still on Adam Goods.
Goods, he took
he was
the step.
off. Oh, absolutely.
And played on, but didn't have prior opportunity, did he?
What?
So does your prior opportunity start after you get told to play on?
I reckon he's had prior opportunity. He's decided to take off.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we discussed that with the umpires pre-game.
I'd suggest that's prior opportunity.
His prior opportunity was he was free and he decided to run into the tackle.
And he's given up as well. Just conceded.
I think he thought it was holding the ball. So they get away with one here. The Swans, Jude Bolton, Kennelly, McGlynn. Campbell attacked it nicely. Harvey, handball smothered. Stolen by Shaw on the rebound. Well played Meredith. Through traffic nicely. McGlynn, he's got the pass option. Well, he spent that before it earned it. Gets tackled way high by Harvey.
The intent was there from the skipper, Brent Harvey. Just not the technique on that one.
Floats it toward Hanbury.
Well done by Goldstein. Just
Shaw
push
can't
back.
get it.
Get the big claw in the road.
26 minutes gone opening term.
Here's Reece Shaw. He's leading the competition in running bounces. Don't think he'll get too many opportunities today on this surface.
Although Lewis Jetta in the reserves had about 25 of them.
He was playing with them though.
He was.
He was absolutely toying with them.
I think if Paul Roos could have taken him off at half-time and played him in the ones,
Here's Goods again.
Goods from 60. This will bring him back into form. And that's the tale of his year.
It is. It is just a real tale of his year. Just hasn't quite been on, but he's been involved in the game today, which is a really good sign. He's had the 5 disposals.
Adams, and it's raining, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that drop. Ball getting a little slippery. Pratt hugs the boundary. Moore also found it tough with the slippery ball. It's out of play as we head down to Lee Cole. But how heavy is that rain, Lee?
The tarp's out, boys.
Have a look at him.
Hey, boys. The Bureau met. I've just had a look, and there's plenty more coming too.
Oh, good luck. We'll see you up here shortly then, Colby.
Well, that's some bad news for those who love a free-flowing game. It might get a little muddier and a little slipperier. high on Wright. Sam Wright signed until the end of next year, which is good news for Kangaroo fans. Heads wide. Petrie, Roberts Thompson. Petrie wins it. Cunnington inboard. Bevan floats in and marks.
Turning well together down there in defence, the Swans.
They're dropping off their direct opponents pretty well and trying to block up the space to where the ball's been directed to the key forwards of the Kangaroos.
Kennelly, Smith, Shaw and wide to Meredith.
Kennelly's playing on a tool. The issue in the ball, it's the deck. He's had 8 disposals already, Ty Kennelly.
McGlynn to Lewis Roberts Thompson, who's drifting down quite a lot. Hacks it inside 50. Tough one to mark. Rawlings with the crumb after Pratt couldn't mark it. Tarrant dragged down. He's already had 4 reconstructions on those shoulders. That's why he hasn't been able to make his debut until today, and that was a tester for one of the 2 shoulders that are strapped.
Massive players in the forward 50 for the Swans here.
Campbell, Wells, they flooded players back, North Melbourne. Swallow hands it off. Adams, Wright, worked this nicely. Rawlings to the free man, Adams. Trent Dennis Lane came at him, overcommitted. Rawlings heads long. Hanson the target. Kept out of it by Grundy well, so Lewis Roberts Thompson could feed back onto it. They are teaming well in defence, and as it's teaming down, they've got plenty of players around it here, the Swans. Meredith. Kennedy. Tough hard volley. Sit up. Hanbury. Meredith. Once again Kennedy. Now Jack. No strange sight to see him breaking tackles. Pike. Back to Jack. Turnover. Swallow. Dragged down by Kirk. Got up. Gave the handball off to Lower. Crowd wanted ball. Farito.
Harvey's pushed forward by himself in the forward 50.
Bastanak. And he misses Hanson.
It was
The
a
Swans
dangerous
could be
kick.
back in
He didn't
here.
hit it.
Grundy. Kennelly.
Nearly have to tag Kennelly the way he's playing at the moment.
Grundy. 9 possessions now for Kennelly. Richards.
He's been
Strong
good.
hands.
Teddy Richards too.
He's looking for a spell, Ty Kennelly. He's on fire, Lee Corbett.
He's been outstanding. They've tried their very best to get him back to the goal square, but as per usual, he pushes off whenever he gets a chance.
Richards told to move it on. We're inside a minute.
Tempted to switch this one.
And a pretty good switch as well.
That's a very
Too far
good
out to
kick.
score, Meredith, you'd think.
Oh, goal square's open.
Short, straight down the middle, Kirk.
That's inexcusable. You've got Moore and Kirk on their own, 40 metres out from goal. Now, it's okay to zone space when there's no other player around. But when you've got 2 Sydney Swans players in a dangerous area, you must man them up. Or at least stand a metre in front to force them to kick the ball over your head.
Yep.
Not 2 or 3 metres behind.
He's done well in his first game of the year, Brett Meredith. Game number 8 overall, but he's come in this week. First taste for 2010. Found Kirk. He can stretch this lead to 19. That is gold from the captain.
Yeah, there's plenty of rain starting to come down, that's for sure. And the ground is reasonably heavy for a modern AFL venue. There's been plenty of rain in Sydney over the last few months.
O'Keefe tries to get the first clearance, gives it straight to Harvey. Last person you want to give it to Wells. A floater again, tough to mark. And Lewis Roberts Thompson did do enough to mark that, although he got the free for in the back.
Yeah, I think they jumped on his back after he hit the ground, Dwayne.
He was lucky though. Kennelly wide, good slides on the wet turf.
He's relishing the opportunity just for some freedom into the midfield. Good coaching from Paul Roos.
Yeah, just to run and look for the ball rather than rely on the ball being delivered to you under enormous pressure.
And his work rate's been good also. He's had the 3 tackles, so he's the leading tackler for Sydney in that first quarter.
Brett Kirk probably enjoying the mud. And he just 7 games to go after this, unless the Swans play finals in his career. Brett Kirk. McGlynn wins the free.
In everything. McGlynn, number 8, disposal.
Hanbury called into that well by Smith. Trent Dennis Lane inside 50. Peels onto it for the Swans. Farito manhandles him and across the line will get a ball in.
Again, they're switching the ball beautifully today, the Swans. There's Ty Kennelly. He's had 10 disposals already. You know, he started on the tour. He's on Ben Warren at the moment. So you'd have to understand the way the numbers there Ty Kennelly's way. You have to play a defensive role on him because his handball receives at 5 already, Ty Kennelly.
Mumford trying to get his own clearance in the middle of it all. Didn't have an opportunity. Will get a ball up.
And of course, the best way to stop his run is hit Ben Warren up when North have got the ball. But unfortunately, he's played on Lockie Hansen. Warren's only had the one disposal, Lockie Hansen. So Ty Kennelly, that's a huge concern for Brad Scott.
Harvey the clearance to the middle. Petrie tries a little flick back to Lindsay Thomas. Roberts Thompson touched it up nicely to Malcheski. O'Keefe, can he hit a man? He can. Bevan inside 50 again.
That's good use of the ball. And spot on, Dwayne. Bevan pushing forward, starting to get used. O'Keefe's had the 8 disposals and uses it so well. 3 inside 50s leading the way with McGlynn for the Sydney Swans.
Is he still on, Brent Harvey?
Not sure at the start of this quarter.
Yeah, it started on him this quarter, I think, with Kieran Jack off him, although that's across the face and just to behind.
So a little let off for the Kangaroos.
The disposal, they're going 76%, Sydney.
Sorry, I sent Brett Harvey. I meant Daniel Wells.
I thought you did, Wayne.
Yep.
I got confused with the question when you said that. I looked at the matchups.
Well, he's playing on a back flank against Daniel Wells, and at the moment, having the better of the contest. Goods having the better of it as well. Peels back to the midfield.
Kick.
And there were 3 options, and Hanbury pulls out the winning raffle ticket.
Again, in the corridor, just before quarter time, they mark one in the corridor, and again, 3 Sydney players. They play this ground beautifully, by the way, the Sydney Swans.
Good contest from Adam Goods and stayed on his feet. So he was in the contest, did enough to push, I think it was Goldstein out of the road, but they were just lining up through the middle of the ground there.
From 45, gets close to the man on the mark, and that caused him to push the kick wide. Daniel Hanbury started well last week, 18 possession first half against Richmond, but just a 6 possession second half when the Tigers took control of that game.
The effective disposals, Sydney are going 12% better at North at the moment, so they're using the ball a hell of a lot better.
Pratt takes on Richards dangerously. Bevan waits under this, goes, and Mumford steals the second grab from him.
Here they are again.
Jude Bolton inside 50. McGlynn tracks it down, gets a handball out. Malcheski pursued by Swallow. Malcheski to his own advantage. Swallow takes him and the ball across.
Well, it was a rush kick into the forward 50, but McGlynn was only a good pass away from being hit up in the forward 50 by himself again. So they've just got to tighten up on that aspect of the game. The Kangaroos just currently just too loose with their midfielders running into the forward half.
Bastanak to Garlett. Runs back inside defensive 50 to Rawlings. Hacks a long 50-metre kick. Not necessarily to anybody. Petrie knocked it down.
Clever
Campbell heads goalward. Nice kick off the boot. Heading towards the opening and bounces through.
That's a terrific goal. Drew Petrie won't go in the stat book as a mark, kick or handball. It should go down as a goal assist because it was a deft tap there to Matty Campbell. It was good awareness, good connection. You see Rawlings going to his vice-captain there in Drew Petrie. And just that little deft tap there to Matty Campbell. Reece Shaw just lost him in transition. He had to play a little bit closer. He assumed the ball was going over the back, but he had to have total accountability on Matty Campbell there. Good goal.
Well, it's just what the Kangaroos needed. The Swans have dominated possession in this quarter so far. Had the 2 shots at goal, but haven't been able to convert.
So the umpires have started throwing it up in the middle. Kennedy gets the clearance. McGlynn takes the mark.
He's on fire, Ben McGlynn.
Leeds come wide. Trent Dennis-Lane with the fist knocks it down. Almost a free. It is a free for in the back to Scott Thompson. Back pocket, gets some booze.
Yeah, he just got in nice and low and drew the free kick, so it was good play.
Rawlings, to mention, a 36 possession game against Geelong last week, but not really decisive possessions, many of them. Getting a lot of them in the last line again today, as he did last week. Wells, toe poke away. Campbell, the hot man, toward Petrie. Slides into it. Lewis Roberts Thompson. Campbell with a couple to beat. Can't beat them all.
Very wet underfoot there with the boundary umpires throwing the ball in.
Harvey and Goods going together at this stoppage.
Ball to the back. Hanbury caught way high by Garland. Strange attempt to tackle that.
Yeah, clumsy one.
Either clumsy or deliberately barbaric, one of the two, but we'll go with clumsy, giving the benefit of the doubt. Bevan spears that. Trent Dennis Lane drops it. Makes amends. Kennedy, Jack, short poke. McVeigh, Jude Bolton will do. Thompson had a piece of it. Rawlings now got it. McVeigh's got him. Ball up.
That's a win there for Sydney. Holding the ball in that real dangerous zone here. So North just have to touch and feel, make sure they get someone goal side between the pack and the goal square.
Huge pack around this ball up as well. And Pike tries to break free of it all. Comes to Adams, but Kennelly should shoot it back inside 50.
Oh, he's too smart.
Oh, a little slip. Hanbury short. Campbell with the fist. Hanbury gathers. Jack can't slip this tackle. Slung 360.
Good pressure, North.
And lower,
They're
breaks free at half
Work
back.
their way through this.
And no one to kick to. And Wright slips on the mud. Strange to see a game played in mud.
They're away in North, they get through.
And they don't get through. Grundy clever. Knocks it away though to Wells. Finds his way through some traffic. Sidestep in the glue. Sends it long. Harvey in a one-on-one. Shaw goes up. Keeps his feet. Harvey drags him away. Roberts Thompson wide to Shaw. Made that a 2-on-2. And Shaw almost deliberately rushed behind. It's clipped the behind post. And that was almost deliberately out of bounds.
It was.
There was a player there in his defence, though. There's no one there, Dwayne.
So you can kick it behind if there's a player there, can you?
I think he was trying to get it there, but he knew that if he didn't get it, it was going to be a boundary throw and a point, so it was well disguised.
Oh, wasn't a real good attempt to hit the target.
Goods.
He was playing at percentages.
Meredith. Malcheski. Kennedy. And once again, Trent Dennis Lane doing well.
McGlynn's around centre half forward again.
She's got the big man to beat and beats him. Farito went high. Couldn't bring it down though, McGlynn. Adams, Campbell, back to Adams. Swans have formed a wall. It'll go to one of those men in the wall. That's Lewis Roberts Thompson.
Well, it's just a dumb decision there. You've got Thomas and Harvey deep, so you go long. Had to kick the ball to space into the North Melbourne players' advantage.
Bevan gave to Shaw. Would have been a free downfield. Advantage paid, and that's not advantage. Because Cunnington's taken the mark in the middle. He's got Lockie Hansen. He was ignored. He's having a quiet day at the office. Lockie Hansen. Lewis Roberts Thompson's not.
Well, they had to hit him up because that's his direct opponent, Lockie Hansen. Lockie Hansen's trying to do a defensive role. There's no doubt, Blaine, you called it. He should have hit Lockie Hansen up to transfer play.
He was free. I'm not too sure why they ignored him, but with Petrie back in the team, it looks like they're ignoring him quite often.
Well, their last two forward entries is just dumb decisions. Simple as that.
Grundy to Moore. Takes the step plate
He's
on.
gone.
Oh, around the head.
Caught high.
Oh, he's
Wright
lucky.
should have gone lower. And that's almost reportable. Umpire came and had a word to him. Let him off. Grundy floats it inside 50. Richards can't get there. And Scott Thompson does.
It's
Takes
scrappy at the
mark.
moment, both on execution and decision. See the high contact
gee.
on Moore. That's not real flash.
Just a technique issue there. Spoken like a...
Gee, you give the benefit of the doubt quite often, don't you?
It was a technique issue.
Free kick to Harvey here for a push out in that contest.
And Brent Harvey just trying to milk a 50 there by running back so the ball bounced in front of him from Kieran Jack. Oh, grab that.
Yes, exactly. High. Hansen's under it. Can't get near it. No one grabs it. Kennelly. Dangerous place to be thumping
I'm
the
sure that
ball.
was the best.
Campbell tried to go off the grass and out of play deliberately.
The ball should have went over the boundary line. I'm not sure hitting it 40 metres away from goal towards the goal square when you've got Campbell and Thomas sweating on you is the correct play.
Sigh of relief from Ty Kennelly.
He did chase his own tap though.
He was going quick.
He had to.
Right contest free. Who's it going to?
You're both holding
Mike
initially,
Pike.
but then you ended up wrapping him up.
Okay, so there's your explanation. Both holding initially, and then Mike Pike wrapped up in the end by McIntosh. O'Keefe wide. McVeigh, Pratt.
Good spoil.
Good fist.
Yeah, good spoil from Daniel Pratt. Just the kick was elevated just a little bit too much. Gave McVeigh plenty to do under that ball. Allowed Pratt to get in the spoil.
Has been scrappy, difficult conditions for AFL. Players not used to a muddy surface nor these rainy conditions combined with the mud. There was a game played on this ground before this game, and it's definitely chopped it up. Grundy, just in time, Smith. Shaw. Got McGlynn, needs to be good. Sits on him a little, and thumped away easily by Ben Cunnington.
That's an interesting matchup. We've seen McGlynn come off the ground. Ben Cunnington, their first round draft pick, giving him a really hard job on Ben McGlynn. Normally plays a lot of his football in the midfield, so giving him a pretty tough job, because what Ben McGlynn does, he works hard and runs hard.
O'Keefe, Kennelly, who's been running hard, holds his ground, kicks long. Richards flies, coats up, didn't touch it. McVeigh did. Farito, nice gather after an initial fumble. Scott Thompson, players coming at him left, right and centre, makes it tough for Cunnington, goes back and helps him out. Moore ties him up, wraps him up, and he tunnels it across the boundary line and gets away with it.
Lee Colbert, footwear's a bit of an issue at quarter time for a few of these boys.
It's been a trend all day. Ty Kennelly went and got his boots. Lindsay Thomas, geez, Carly, the boot starter's moving very quickly. She'd be happy with that, boys. But there, Lindsay Thomas's boots. She's travelling.
Looks like a Benny Hill film.
We said before, I can't believe actually guys go out there with moulded sole boots.
No,
it is definitely screwing conditions.
Glad we didn't see a bald man chasing Nick Smith.
It's a game of defences this second quarter. Both sides putting extras behind the ball. That's why I've got a lot of indecision when going forward.
LRT, indecision
Like
there,
this.
and he turns it over to Pratt, who fumbles the mark he should have taken with ease. And across the boundary line will get a ball in. There is Ben Cunnington, who Danny was speaking about earlier. Their pick 5 last year, North Melbourne. He's yet to be nominated for the NAB Rising Star this year, but he's had probably a better season than some that have been nominated. Big bump on Swallow. O'Keefe,
that's
Goldstein, splendid tackle.
Good tackle from the big ruckman. Stayed involved and pinned the arms, and very good. Uses it well usually as well.
And the tackle hurt, which gives you the added bonus. Lindsay Thomas.
Yeah, he's got Drew Petrie deep. Needs to move it quick. He can't go long now because he'll be outnumbered.
Sits it up again. And Petrie flies. Got hands to it. Wells and Adams almost fight each other for it. Wells turns back inside. Gets a Shepherd and now gets a kick. Bouncing ball that'll lose Petrie. Rawlings comes down from half back and turns it over when he should have kicked the goal. Good. Kennelly. Malcheski. And once again they work it beautifully from half back. Although Richards held up by Farito. Just as I called it beautifully, it was mighty ugly.
Farito's asking the question, why wasn't it holding the ball? Maybe Ted Richards there got a handball, but that was the perfect corralling of an opponent coming at you there.
It's the big hit on Swallow by Shaw. I think they both hurt themselves out of that. Goldstein, the palm down to lower.
But once again, Danny, we just saw that transition out of defence for the Sydney Swans. They were held up more because of the lack of options across the centre wing and half forward. Big numbers being pushed back from both teams at the moment.
Harvey, again inside 50, but Grundy leads Petrie to the ball. Lays a tackle on O'Keefe. Play on the call. Smith strips it. Jude Bolton back to O'Keefe. Richards comes hard, attacks it. Tarrant. Caught by Meredith, got a handball up just in time. Farito to Rawlings, he dropped it under pressure. Meredith lays the tackle, Farito gets them out of trouble. Thumps it long. It's not full of skill and beauty and grace this game at the moment, but as we've mentioned a couple of times, tough conditions and maybe the weight of the pressure on these two teams as well. Spotting the 8 up for grabs. Both teams 7 wins, 7 losses coming in. This is an 8-point game in many respects. Team that wins this will be inside the 8 with 7 games to play. Malcheski, Bevan, Malcheski, Wells wrapped him up and pushed him a little.
Just in the back. So free kick just to allow the Sydney Swans to hold things up a little bit, try to hit up a few targets, because the run, the free-flowing play off halfbacks, just not quite working for him at the moment.
There has been talk about protecting the ball carrier, the ball winner in those instances. Beautiful smother by Petrie. If there's a push in the back and the tackle is not 100% correct, give the benefit of the doubt to the guy who has the ball.
Beautiful smother there from the vice-captain, Drew Petrie.
Goldstein. Little flick down and gets his own ball. It's a 2-on-1 though. Kennelly and Roberts-Thompson both standing there with Petrie.
You've got the corridors opened up.
Oh, they can go here big time. O'Keefe looks up. Got Hanbury wide. Needs to be good. Not good enough. Cunnington takes the mark and now North on the rebound. 17 minutes gone, second term. They're winning this term at the moment, North. Right, long.
Oh, he's
too long
struggling,
for Petrie.
Drew Petrie. Just see there, he tried to jump off the leg.
He's hurt himself, hasn't he?
I think he's struggling. He's missed. He's only played the one game this year. He's broken both feet.
He broke the left foot. He broke the left foot pre-season.
He's hobbling.
Missed the first
he's in trouble.
9 rounds of the year. Came back round 10.
He's looking like Dwayne coming up the stairs pre-game.
Unfortunately, he actually is.
Yeah, he is.
Colby, how's he going at ground level from your point of view?
He's struggling.
He's really struggling. I'm not too sure. He's coming to the bench now, actually.
Yeah.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's neither feet.
Absolutely. Pratt takes the mark.
His body language doesn't look great.
No, that's not good news at all.
5th metatarsal in his right foot it was that has caused him to miss the last few weeks, so we can try and pick up from the hobble which foot that is.
And it's soft conditions too,
Yeah.
Dwayne and Litchy, so gee, let's hope he's okay.
Yeah,
Scott Thompson.
Disappointed.
Never kicked an AFL goal. Will he get a chance here? Handballs it back. Harvey kicked plenty like this in his time. Thumps it long. Goal square. Rights down there. Goldstein. Roberts-Thompson thumps it through.
Well, that was a great spoil from LRT. We saw in the first quarter, Todd Goldstein took a very strong mark in the goal square, but on that occasion, perfect for a key defender. Had a run and jump and got the spoil over the line.
I think he's going straight to the runes, Drew Petrie.
Oh, that right foot, by the look of it, that right foot appears very sore.
Tom Turner worked there, the conditioning coach, walking him to the runes too. Let's hopefully he's okay.
I haven't done a lot of lip reading, but I think he was saying he's not entirely happy at the moment.
Sad news that for the Kangaroos.
Oh, it is.
And if they're to make the finals, they need him. But if they're to make a dent in the finals, they certainly do need him. Goods was held after the handball. Play on advantage.
50 metre.
And
It's got to be 50
instead. Okay,
it has
right.
to be 50.
So Goods will be within range here.
Well, he's had the 10 disposals, Adam Goods, 3 inside 50s, 4 tackles.
Where's the umpire coming to? He's trying to work out where the 50 will be. And it's 47 metres from goal. It is a 50-metre downfield, is it? No, Smith thought it was his. Gives it back to Goods.
Well, Goodsy actually gave it to Nick Smith, which is surprising.
Yeah.
But he's
when
got
you're
it
out
back.
of form, maybe you do that.
Maybe. Should get the journey.
Did kick 2 goals against Richmond last week from 15 possessions. And bends that back. Awesome. Big smile for Adam Goods.
You've got to hand it to Paul Roos. Said pre-game, Alistair, that he's going to unleash Adam Goods.
There's the big story of the game, actually.
Oh, that's sad. We're watching Drew Petrie going to the North Rooms, and Lee Kolb will be all over that at half-time. But getting back to this game, Adam Goods, and that's great coaching because he's been playing centre forward most of the year. They had a really ordinary loss last week against Richmond. He's thrown him into the midfield. He's given 2 goals away. He's had 11 disposals. There's kick a goal.
Little unlucky there, North Melbourne, with that 50-metre penalty in goal. They're a lot unlucky with the injury to Drew Petrie. And now it's a 19-point lead again.
That means Todd Goldstein will go to full forward now with Lockie
Goods
Hansen.
inspired at the moment, Adam Goods. Thompson can't mark it, hits the deck. Rawlings, touch play on was the call. Ball bounced unkindly for O'Keefe. Bastanak attacked it well. Thompson, Rawlings makes it somebody else's problem. Right, Kirk, Malcheski. They can smell blood here, the Swans. McLean, 6 minutes or 5.5 and change to half-time, and Scott Thompson wins a free too high. Short pass, Bastanak, Warren. Hasn't seen a lot of it yet. Ben Warren, this will be possession number 3. Hansen likewise has hardly seen it. Garlett, McIntosh, lead comes. Goldstein gets there for the bouncing ball. Roberts-Thompson half had him, then Goldstein half had him. Pike, turnover. Harvey, McIntosh. Can he get it on the boot? Gives it back to Harvey. Runs out of trouble. Floats it goalward, but it's wide. Behind.
Well, the real worry for Brad Scott at half-time, Alistair, is the form of Kennelly and Malcheski. They had 31 disposals between them, and more than half of their disposals are handball received. So the run and carry out of North's, because the inside 50s is the same, 26 all, yet they've only had the 3 goals. So it's coming out like a trampoline at the moment.
It is, and mainly through those two players had the half a dozen rebound 50 possessions.
Lee Colbert, blood rule, I understand.
Yeah, blood rule, Scotty Thompson with his nose. He's with the other club doctor. Colin Metropolis is with Drew Petrie. The other one is Dave Velton, and he's the one that actually saved a Swan supporter today from having a heart attack, can you believe, on the plane on the way to Sydney.
Yeah, they nearly had to turn the plane around. I'll let you talk more about that shortly, Colby. Garlett gathered, but is in turn gathered, tries to get it away, holding the ball.
Great tackle there from Josh Kennedy.
Kennedy at half-back.
Another good recruit for the Sydney Swans, Kennedy.
Absolutely. Malcheski hugs the boundary. O'Keefe, thumb clear. So, Colby, there was a danger that the gentleman was going to lose his life on that plane.
Yeah, he was very crook, and we were told that a medical officer was required, and Dave Velton, the club doctor for North Melbourne, put up his hand and went and assisted, so did a great job.
It was nice of him to assist a Swan supporter, but Colby, just find out for me, that club doctor is new. I think he's a Swan supporter, even though he's the club doctor for North Melbourne today.
Just got the colours on, mate. He's North Melbourne now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Doesn't take long to change.
Well, unfortunately, he's got his hands full again with Drew Petrie at half-time.
Yes, they've probably got a long-term problem there. That foot's broken again, and that'll be 3 foot fractures within the space of 20 weeks. And it's a sad, sad story for North Melbourne. 4 minutes to go. They're still well and truly in this, though. 18 points the margin. So despite it appearing as if the Swans are winning this second term, it's actually North Melbourne that's won the term so far. It was a 19-point lead at quarter time as Petrie heads to the rooms with a look of resignation on his face. It's an 18-point lead right now. It might grow, though. Rawlings, Cunnington, Tarrant, McIntosh, little drop, and that's all it takes. Kennedy short, and Hanbury 50 from goal, thinks he's too far out. Trent Dennis Lane on the line, takes the mark.
Good lead, good vision.
He can kick goals. His first attempt in early first term wasn't that flash. There's plenty of whistle blowing.
The umpire's are ringing back because he went around the mark. He tried to use the boundary line, but he has to come back in line with the goal umpire.
And the umpires these days basically put you up against the fence.
Yeah, he will be on the fence, especially at this ground.
So Lee Adams off for the blood rule as well. 21-year-old, mature age recruit. Picked 55 in last year's draft. Trent Dennis Lane in game 2. Hit the goal on debut last weekend. That's why he's in the team. He can do that.
Well, he didn't have to worry about encroaching on the mark. He just went back and slotted it straight over the goal umpire's hat. They've desperately needed that, Sydney, for a whole range of reasons. Look, they're well in front. It's only their second goal for the quarter. Both sides have had nearly 14 inside 50s, only 3 goals scored for the game. It's got one for the highlights package the second quarter. But that really does hurt. Just on time on. Sydney kicked the goal on time on again in the first quarter, so Brad Scott won't be too happy with those 2 goals late.
We've had a few hyphens over time, the Sydney Swans. Who's their best?
Well, I'm trying to think. Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Who else is there?
Simon Minton-Connell.
Simon Minton-Connell, yes, good one. Yeah.
There's a better one than that.
There's a better one from Sydney, Dwayne.
David Rees-Jones.
David Rees-Jones. I come up with that pre-game and forgot it then.
That's why I gave you I was ready for the line and you forgot your own line.
What about Trent Orman-Allen, boys?
Yeah.
Bit of gold from Colby.
Nick Farr-Jones.
We're talking Swans at the moment, though, we were. Harvey Long inside 50. Mumford can't take the mark. Off hands. Opportunity for Warren. Snap. Looked nice off the boot. Has he got the carry? Bastanak marks into square. No need to play on there. He'll be directly out. No angle required.
Well, he thought about it.
He didn't know that it was going to be no angle required.
Good mark.
This Ryan Bastanak. 3 minutes from half time. Margin the biggest of the game at 24 now. Cuts it back to 18.
And the thing it does, it actually means that North Melbourne are leading the quarter by 1 point. I mean, they trail in the game by 18 points, but just for the quarter, I think they could be going to half-time reasonably happy with the position they're in. I think they've been outplayed in this quarter. Possessions heavily in favour of the Sydney Swans for the term and for the match so far, but they haven't been blown away on the scoreboard, North Melbourne. They're putting some good pressure on, and maybe that is the reason why inside 50s, Sydney haven't been able to hit targets.
Every game this season in his debut year, Ryan Bastanak, and back to a 3-goal lead. 2 3/4 minutes left, and a big 2 3/4 minutes in the context of this game. Jack gets the clearance, wide ball. McVeigh, Rawlings, clever McVeigh.
Great run,
found
Mumford
He
too.
tried to repay the favour, turned it over to Harvey, rolls it, Hanson, can't tap it on. Jack steals. Swans might go forward. Mumford back. Meredith gathers the slippery ball. Brett Kirk, clean hands. Jack. And now Grundy. And normally uses it well. Centering kick. Jude Bolton flies. Can't mark. Gathers the crumb. Gives it up.
Right.
Malcheski was it a throw. Malcheski goals regardless.
No, he's going to bring it back, is he? Oh no, he's all
It's a goal.
clear.
He's played advantage.
That's a good goal. You touched on before, Nick Malcheski's been very handy. Leads the game with 19 disposals, and with the likes of O'Keefe, Kennelly, especially off half-back with Shaw as well. They're running the ball very well off half-back. 13 handball receives, you're pointing out to me, Danny, and that is fantastic work rate by Nick Malcheski. You've got to be very careful not to give him too much space. They have to shut down the likes of Malcheski and Shaw at the moment.